Welcome back to Chit Chats, everybody. My name is Antonio.
And my name is Aidan Redenius.
You have to. You...
Oh wait, what did I say after that?
Welcome back to Chit Chats, everybody. My name is Antonio.
My name is Aidan Redenius, and let's have a chit chat.
Let's have a chit chat indeed. Welcome, everybody. Aidan Redenius, welcome to the show.
Mm-hmm.
This is your
Thank you.
first episode.
This would be it.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's good to have you on.
This is exhilarating.
Yeah, I can tell you feel exhilarated right now. You're
Yeah.
just emanating just like this raw like chaotic energy. You know.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tend to.
Yeah, that's why I want to have you on the show. You know what I mean? Because
Mm.
that's just we need Aidan Redenius energy on this show. That's what this show's
Aidan,
been missing.
jeez.
But so Aidan, you haven't been on the episode yet, but this is your first one. I thought it would be nice to kind of introduce the audience to kind of like who you are. I mean, you've been in videos before, like you've been on my main channel a couple times, but this is your first chit chat, and this show we like to get a little bit more personal and kind of like just kind of it's very raw, like just talking to the camera or talking to each other about whatever we want. And I hear you could say you're a little bit of a metalhead.
Oh, do the posters give it away?
I didn't even notice the posters. I just, you just, I just had a feeling.
Okay. Well, I would describe myself as such, yes.
Yeah. And I mean, like, see, I have like a list of questions. Basically, I wanted to talk to you today about like your interest in music because I know that that's like a big part. Spoiler, it's a big part of like how I sort of like think what I sort of like what I think of you. When I think of you, like I know that you really enjoy music and metal and and all that. So I wanted to ask you. So I have a list of questions here, and my first question was, "What's your favorite genre of music?" So
Okay. Uh, I mean, that's simple. I could get into like the different genres of metal though.
yeah, I mean,
I,
like if you had like, because like metal is sort of a broad sort of term, I guess, right? I mean, like
mhm.
like if is there like a more specific sort of subgenre of metal that you would say is like your favorite?
I I find that I get into a new genre um, every I'll call it like 6 months or
Oh, really?
so. Yes, it's like it's not really my taste that changes. I just get tired of listening to that genre that I was on for that
Okay.
6 months at a time. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
just sort of naturally like dive deeper and deeper, and like my taste has definitely gotten heavier and heavier over the last few years.
Right.
So I, if you asked me that question 2 years ago, I would have told you thrash metal was my favorite metal genre.
So like
And
what? So like what is thrash metal? Because like how it like more specifically like what does that mean? Because I'm kind of uneducated.
okay, so um, to be quite honest with you, genres are funky, especially in metal. And
Mhm.
I know from personal experience because I wasn't always a metalhead. All of the genres sound exactly the same. When you watch
Okay,
metal, every
gotcha.
song sounds exactly the same. But with that out of the way, I would say thrash is like it's fast. It's like the
Okay.
name, like
Yeah.
it's thrashy, makes you want to thrash around.
Okay.
And
Yeah, that
uh,
makes sense. That's kind of what I should have figured. Yeah.
sure, Metallica, that's like the number one thrash metal band. Like 80s Metallica, like I mean one. You know what I mean? The fast
Yeah.
section of one, that's like pure thrash. It's fast, they're like aggressive, it's sharp, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, like pretty heavy guitar tones, really fast like the that like 1 2 1 2 1 2 drum beat, like boom,
Yeah.
bap, um, a lot of like for those that play guitar, there's a lot of like open E palm mutes that are like really fast. Like there's a lot of down picking. Master of Puppets is, I'm gonna nerd out for a second. Master of Puppets
Please.
all picked, and it's all palm mutes too. Like from the moment the song starts, it's literally like and it's literally just down picking the entire time, and that's like pinnacle of thrash metal.
So what I'm kind of gathering is that like, to kind of like an outsider, I feel like all different sort of subgenres of metal can kind of sound the same, but if you kind of listen to a lot of it and you kind of know more about it, there's like subtle differences, right? Or like in the way that like the instruments are sort of like handled and like little nuances like that.
Yeah. So I was like, when you get into it, there are glaring differences between
Okay.
each genre. They're very
Yeah.
separate. But um, to an outsider, like my general perception of metal before I got into it was like it's all like screamo, like guts, I'm gonna kill you, like stuff.
Yeah. Um, no, I can definitely recognize a screamo song when I hear one. um,
Definitely, but
I
like
like the
that,
differences.
I feel like that's what a lot of people kind of generalize it as,
Yeah.
or at least that's what I used to generalize it as.
Right. Yeah.
And whereas like screaming, like Metallica doesn't scream. Like there are all sorts of bands who don't scream like that, and that's something that's reserved for like extreme metal,
Yeah.
which is crushingly heavy, almost like unlistenable. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think like the really heavy, like, don't get me wrong, I actually enjoy metal, like the like Metallica. I've heard like I've heard like you or Quentin like play some of their songs, and I actually like think it sounds I think they sound good. Uh,
Mhm.
but I will say like I've heard some screamo songs. I can't get into them as well.
It's
um,
hard. It's really
personally, but
hard.
I feel like it's more like, at least to my understanding, I feel like the energy of of screamo songs is sort of like the appeal. You know what I mean? And maybe like to an extent, like that's sort of the same case with metal. Like it's like very quick, very like exhilarating feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and um, to give a straight answer to what you originally asked me about what my favorite genre is,
Yeah.
I have been getting into the screaming stuff,
Oh, really?
and
Okay.
like I would call it death metal,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
that's been my favorite genre for some months now, like
Okay.
probably last summer or so. But I when it comes to the energy and vibe, I think thrash captures that more than death metal does. I think uh, death metal is much better at capturing atmosphere,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
um, I think the screaming is for that atmosphere. It captures the intensity, and so the the screams that the vocalists will do fit that intensity on a
Right.
deeper level, and just like Metallica going yeah yeah yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
It they're like screaming, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. I can see that. Um. So like kind of, we could assume here, but I wanted to ask, like, what is your favorite band slash artist? But I feel like I might already know the answer, but I'm still gonna leave it out there.
Okay, this is gonna shock you. Um, so again, if you asked me like 2 years ago, it would be Metallica for sure, hands down. But I mean, late like the last year or so, it's been Death. the band is just called Death,
Oh, okay.
and they like low key pioneered death metal in the 90s.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on this. This might be complete misinformation, but I'm pretty sure the genre death metal is named after that band.
I mean,
But
I would believe it. But
I'm gonna Google it after this
yeah.
for
uh,
sure.
yeah, no, see, that's why you don't judge a book by its cover because, I I could have assumed that it was Metallica, but I was interested to see if you had a different answer. And yeah, I don't think I've heard of that band, but like it sounds like they're pretty well known if they sort of like at least in that sort of like fandom of like that genre of music, you know?
Yeah, among the metal scene, they're really popular, but I mean, metal itself is pretty niche, so they're very far from mainstream,
Right.
basically.
Yeah. But
But yeah,
they have yeah. I mean like I feel like I mean obviously they have their fans, you know what I mean? Like
oh yeah, 100%. And they're honestly, I think if they didn't if they weren't death metal, I think they would be considered like one of the most unique and influential bands of all time. Seriously, because they're the talent of their lead singer, or I'll call him vocalist because he doesn't really sing ever, but um he does guitars and vocals, and he writes his riffs. He writes his guitar music with the most like personalized scales and sound. Like you hear a death song and you know that it's a death song.
that's
Whereas
cool.
like Metallica's albums, outsiders wouldn't like people who don't listen to metal wouldn't be able to pick them out anyway. But Metallica's albums kind of blend in to the scene
Right,
that
okay.
they're from, for sure. Whereas like Death stands out
They have like a very
intensely.
specific sort of sound.
Yeah. And they have a really big emphasis on uh I'll say not theatrics because they don't like it's that like artsy-ish. There's a word somewhere out there that I can't put my finger on, but it's
Like
dude.
it's like artsy. It's like saying artsy, but it's not.
Yeah, like it's stylized
Yeah,
maybe
okay.
it's
Sure.
definitely it's atmospheric.
Yeah.
Like 100%. It's super atmospheric and super like their songs aren't about like dying and stuff like that. Like their lyrics are very philosophical
Okay.
and very like in essence heavy, but they're
Right.
not vulgar. Like their lyrics aren't vulgar or
Right.
blunt
Okay.
like
Yeah.
that.
Whereas I feel like to maybe like I'm not speaking for myself, but like to maybe like an outsider, they might assume that the lyrics would be vulgar, right? You
Mhm.
know, based on like the
Yeah,
tone of the song.
right. But the tone, the tones of their songs, especially on their later albums, are it's really not even um, aggressive.
Oh,
Like
okay. Yeah.
it's more, it's like it's you're gonna have to bear with me on this description, but I would say it's mystically twisted.
Okay.
That's the that's the tone of their music on their later albums,
Yeah,
which is
I can kind of understand what you're saying. Yeah.
I'll have to like next time I'm up there, I'll show you a song or two from them, and I'll
Okay.
point
Yeah.
out some skills they use, and like they use they're a very technical band too.
Yeah.
They have a lot of like breakdowns and like tempo switches and time signatures, and they experiment with a lot of harmonies. Like the lead guitarist does harmonies all the time,
Yeah.
and like it's super. That's where the atmosphere comes from,
No,
I
I like
think.
that.
Yeah, it's really cool. Their songs are all really long and their lyrics are great too.
Yeah, no, I'll have to check them out because they sound like they got some good material under their belt. Um,
I would.
uh, so I don't know how else to introduce this. So you play guitar, and I guess like so. Okay, well maybe yeah. Like how did that kind of happen? Like how did you learn? Like how did you learn? What sort of like inspired you to want to learn?
Well, that's okay. That's a funny question because I never really wanted to learn when
Oh
I
really?
was a kid. Yeah, to be honest with you, um, I'll start from the beginning. When
It
I
all
was
goes
a
back to the
kid,
beginning. Hmm.
here we go.
Here we go.
When
Yeah.
I was, this is an Aidan Redenius certified story moment. Anything with a guitar in it, any sort of rock and roll or heavy metal, I was afraid of. I hated it. I didn't want to listen to it. I wasn't even a religious kid, but I just dismissed it all as like satanic. You know what I mean? I was like,
Yeah.
get it away from me.
Uh
Like
huh.
Crazy by Ozzy Osbourne. Didn't I wanted nothing to do with it ever. And my dad he was a big rock and roll fan, big metalhead, and he played guitar growing up, and he was trying to pass that on to me, and I completely deflected it. I wanted nothing to do with it, and come middle school ish, I started listening to some rock and roll songs. Like I think I heard a song in a Call of Duty trailer, and it really piqued my interest. I was like, that sounds good.
Yeah.
So I decided to listen to it, and that led me to the White Stripes, which is like garage rock band, and they get pretty heavy on some of their songs. But do you know the White Stripes?
I do not,
You
but
know
I'm
Seven
following your
Nation.
story. Huh?
You know Seven Nation Army.
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yes.
dun.
Yes. I do. I know
That's
that. Yes.
So I got into the White Stripes pretty heavy by about eighth grade, and my freshman year, or rather our freshman year,
Thank you.
I just got a little, I something I was like, I want a guitar. Why not? You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
had no plans of really committing to it, but I liked listening to music with guitars in it
Uh
at
huh.
that time.
Yeah.
And so I asked for one for Christmas, and I got some. I mean, it wasn't a piece of crap, but it was pretty low quality
It was a
starter.
beginner guitar, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I just started learning stuff, and I mean, my taste got heavier, and like I found Metallica during our sophomore year. Like I heard some of their stuff our freshman year, but I got into them our sophomore year.
Okay, gotcha.
Over time, honestly, it was Metallica that got me into guitar because I fell in love with all their songs, and Justice for All, the title track of this album
Uh huh.
right there. That like hearing the tone, the guitar tone that they had on that track when when the verse riff is laid down for the first time, I was awestruck, and that it was moments like those where I would realize I wanted to learn to play those riffs myself. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And so I kept learning riffs, and I would hear a riff. I was like that sounds badass. I want to learn that. So I'd go and learn it, and that's really that's my guitar experience. I mean, that's how I play. That's all I really do. I hear a riff that I think is cool, and I go learn it. You know what I mean?
I yeah no I like that. I mean like, so would you say you're like would you say that you've kind of gotten to the point where you can identify certain notes by ear pretty well?
Yeah.
I think that's impressive. Like I anytime that's like a musician is able to do that, I'm like wildly impressed because I
Well, I
just think that's really
appreciate.
cool.
Well, yeah, it's really fun too to be able to do that. When
Yeah.
you if you're able to listen to a song and pick up your guitar and try and figure out how to like play it,
Yeah.
and like that process is so much fun, especially if you do it successfully. Like what I
Yeah.
do is I'll learn a song by ear, and then I'll go and read the tab for it. And for those who don't know, tab is like a it's similar to sheet music, but it's specifically for a guitar neck
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've heard
strings.
of that.
And so I'll go and read the tab for that riff and see how close I got to playing it correctly. And that is so much fun.
Yeah. It's kind of like I feel like it's like kind of like a puzzle almost, but it's like satisfying to solve, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Then you got another riff under your belt.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, no. And I feel like so you've been playing since middle school around or like early high
Yeah,
school, yeah.
since we were like 15,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah.
Uh and so you've probably probably like played a lot, right? Like since then, like you probably. Well, I know that you can like play like I feel like you can play like full songs or at least pretty long parts of songs, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, it depends on which songs, obviously, duh.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, um, I can play I can play a lot of Metallica songs all the way
Yeah.
through. The rhythm section anyway. I don't really care much to learn solos, and so I can't play any solos.
But you
But
learn like the I feel like you learn like the important parts or like the parts that like people know. You know what I mean? Um
I learned the parts that I really care
that
about
you
learning.
care about, right? Yeah. Which is yeah, that's good. And like and those are hard. Like I mean like I've seen like or at least like I don't know from like an out from a bystander, it's like they're very intricate in like your the way that you have to finger the strings and I'm like trying to use terminology that's like you know official and I'm kind of failing so but you get what I mean right
Well, yeah, I'm quite unofficial with it too. Like I don't even the notes of each string
plucking the
memorized.
string like there's only so you get what I mean as long as I'm getting the point across right yeah
But
um
yeah, it definitely like they are super intricate and it is pretty tricky. Like Master of Puppets, I can only play sometimes. Like I have good days and bad days of guitar playing,
right.
and on my days I can't make it through 30 seconds of Master of Puppets. On my good days I can play it all the way through.
Well,
But
it's a lot of
but
like hand-eye coordination and like sort of like I feel like that's like something that like takes a lot of practice is like being able to like sort of individually move your fingers in like
mm,
the way that you need to, right?
yeah, that double hand connection, like being able to pick at the right time that
Yeah,
you're at the same time that you're hitting a note too.
that's
That's
tough.
really key. That was
Yeah,
one of the biggest boundaries to knock down when I started. But
I
it comes with practice. And each
for
I
sure.
found that new riff I learned, I picked up a new little trick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
And
cool.
so like yeah, like they're just like tools. And so now like having practiced all those tools for so long, like it's much easier to look at a riff and get through it because I've got all those tools down.
Right. And then I feel yeah, and then you can kind of like yeah, you can like apply that to like continue like continuously like to like future
Right.
riffs and future songs and stuff. That's cool.
Yeah.
Um so like I don't know, I guess like for someone that was try because like I personally I've sort of on and off tried to learn guitar. I have one off camera. Like what sort of advice like I speaking from experience, it's hard to like to like force yourself to learn. At least for me, maybe it's just because I'm not as like motivated to like try to learn stuff, but I want to be. So like I don't know, like what would you say to kind of like someone that's trying to learn guitar, like what like tips would you give them or like advice?
Well, first of all, I think you would have to figure out if it's for you or not. And
That's
I
fair.
think you can do that with a passion check. If
Okay.
you've got some sort of passion for playing guitar, it's probably for you.
Yeah.
On the inverse of that, it, by passion, I mean like if you want to learn how to like play a song, or for me, it was hearing that guitar tone on Injustice for All for the first time. I
Yeah.
wanted so badly to sound like that song. Like when I
Yeah.
played, I wanted to be able to play that song. I wanted to sound like that song. I wanted to be able to like hit those heavy chords. I wanted to build up to that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Uh-huh.
And so that was my passion with guitar. And if you don't have a passion like that, then you're not really gonna do it. There's no reason for you to really learn.
It's gonna be
It's
harder to get into it.
it becomes a
Right?
chore at that point
Yeah.
if you don't have a passion for it. And so I think the first tip I would give is like ask yourself why you're learning guitar. Is it because you want to be more interesting? Is it because you love music with guitars in in it? Or like maybe maybe you want to impress girls or guys or
Yeah. People.
people in
Yeah.
general?
Uh-huh.
Uh, Whatever it may be, ask yourself if it's something like ask yourself if you really want to. If you really want to learn guitar, I think you will. I think, I mean, the same could be applied to anything really.
Yeah.
You know, like you if you want to learn guitar, final statement, if you want to learn guitar, you got to have a passion for it, I
Right.
think.
Yeah, I got you.
Yes. I would
Okay.
say that's the only tip I can really give because I think from there, if you have that passion, the rest is laid out for you. I think you'll consistently practice.
Yeah.
You'll find stuff that you want to play. Um, Otherwise, I don't think there's much point in learning.
Right. Cause then cause if it kind of becomes a chore, then it's kind of like you're just not really you're kind of doing it for the sake of like you're like forcing yourself, and then it's like I feel like the results are probably not gonna be they're not gonna like you might like not really be as good as you could be if you were interested, right? Because you're kind of just I don't
Right.
know.
Like you look at schools in other countries and they force the students to learn an instrument. And like what are they going to use it for? You know, and like
Yeah.
do they in that instrument? And they force those students to learn specific songs on that instrument. And it happened to me. It might have happened to you too, but in music class when I was in elementary school, we had to learn the recorder.
Right. Oh, I remember.
What was the deal with that? You
Yeah.
know, recorder. I had no passion for that. I didn't care. I truly did not care about the recorder.
I wonder if there's anyone out there that walked out of walked out of music class in elementary school like, yeah, I'm gonna keep practicing this and I'm gonna get really good at the recorder. I wonder if
I
there's someone out there.
There very well might be, but it sure as heck wasn't me. And
Yeah.
but
I
that flipped when I found guitar. So
so I feel like in one aspect I feel like something like that, like kind of like forcing people to like partake in something like that. I feel like that could almost it's almost like a little push to see if you are because you're never going to know if you are interested unless you try it in some way, right? I feel to an extent, right? So like I feel like maybe that was the kind of goal there. That being said, I don't feel like we needed to practice it as long as we did, but what do I know?
I and the recorder too.
And the recorder
What
of all instruments.
what
Yeah.
recorder? Yeah, you're gonna play hot cross
I
buns
can.
with your grandma.
It's like as we talk about it, I can like hear the just like the ear piercing sound of it like in my head, like played hot cross buns. It's like,
The
uh,
squeak,
it's
the
like
squeal.
repressed. Like I repressed those memories, and now they're just flooding back. Oh my gosh.
Again,
Do you still have
unfortunate.
your recorder, or like, do you
It's
know if you?
some
Because I feel like
like
I think I like found mine like while I was cleaning my room like a couple months ago.
it, it's like I haven't seen it since then, and it now that you bring it up, I honestly don't remember if we gave ours back or
Oh,
not.
really? I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure they let. Yeah, no. I mean, I know that they let us keep ours because we had like these blue bags with them
Mhm.
in it, and then like I found that blue bag, but like I thought that was kind of weird that they let us keep them because I feel like that's like kind of spendy
Mhm.
for the schools to like buy
Yeah,
new recorders for every class, you know?
for 30. Oh God, no. Because it wasn't just one class, it was like three or four different classes of
Yeah,
students
yeah. By class, I just meant like the entirety of like that year of students, right? Like that's gotta rack up.
of recorders at least.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, not very cost efficient there.
Yeah, no, not really. Yeah, like I don't know, because I feel like there's some people, kind of like in sort of the topic of like I don't know, people that are forced to play music. Like I feel like some people will like like people that are like forced to like learn piano when they're little.
Hmm.
Um, like I feel like like some of those people will like walk out like knowing the piano really well and like they can play it really well. But I question if like they're happy about that, like if it like really sort of brings them joy to know that like they can play the piano well, or just like I guess in general like any instrument if they're forced to play it, right?
Hmm.
So I think you're right. I feel like having a passion for it is like is a very important sort of first thing to figure out first. You know what I mean? Um, or at least like why you want to learn, right? Yeah.
And I would say to build on that, even if you don't really have a musical passion for it, like if you don't really have a reason to learn to play, like you said, I think you don't truly know until you've tried it. And
Right.
I like definitely try it. If you're questioning playing playing guitar at all, try it. Give it a shot. Get a guitar in your hands. You can go to Guitar Center and they'll let you try out any guitar in the shop
Yeah.
and give it a shot. See how it feels. See if it's something that you might spark a passion for if you don't have one already. And some people might just enjoy the technical aspect of it, the musical theory aspect of it. With
Yeah.
me, it was raw music, and I like to play cool metal riffs that I've heard before.
Right. Yeah.
For others, it might be they want to learn music and they want to study music theory. They want to write their own like intricate music pieces. That might like there's all kinds of different passions for it too.
Yeah. And I feel like if you like if you even if you just kind of like dip your toes into like looking at any one of those sort of aspects, you could find out if you really are like interested in going down any of those routes, right? Cuz music theory like I don't know like how much knowledge you have of it, but it's complicated shit. I don't have a lot at all.
No,
But like just from like an outsider perspective, it gets very in depth, right?
oh yeah, definitely.
It's probably
But
not anything like impossible to learn, obviously, but like it's
no,
you have
it's
to
like
be passionate
language.
about it. But what?
It's like it's like math. It's like a
Yeah,
secondary, in my opinion.
yeah. It's like math. It's like another language to learn,
Yeah,
uh, and that can be
it's like
tough.
with emotions.
Yeah,
It's a language that
but it's
isn't spoken that still provokes emotion.
yeah. I will say though that like the thing that I really enjoy about music, at least like just like as just someone who just casually just listens to it, I like that it's very universal. Like even if you don't understand like the lyrics to a song, just hearing like that melody, like it could convey so much uh to a person, you know. Just simply like any from like any culture, any place in the world. You know, I just think that's really cool.
Yeah, like chord progressions are fascinating like that.
Yeah,
Just a sequence in which you play like four different chords, it could convey any like the sequence and speed at which you play those chords could convey any emotion you choose.
yeah. Have you? I'm curious. Like, you kind of brought up, like, you know, if you wanted like people that might be interested in like writing a song or like that aspect. Have you ever like tried to write one before? I'm just curious.
I haven't tried to write a whole song, but I've written like plenty. When I say write, and I think this goes for a lot of guitarists, but when I say write a riff, I mean like I just fuck around and make my own.
Yeah, it's not necessarily like literally writing, right? Yeah.
There's, I'll tell you, I've written one riff down in my entire experience of playing guitar, and I did that last week.
Oh, really? No kidding.
Yeah, all 6 years playing guitar, I've written that single riff down, and um, I just felt I was felt like I was on to something with it, and I still like I play it like daily
Yeah.
almost. Yeah, because I just want to keep it steady for if I ever do get around to writing. I definitely like an offshot goal of mine is to write an album for sure. I would love to write my own album. I'm
Dude.
not I'm capable of it, I'm sure, but I lack some equipment that I need, and I need to gather inspiration
Right. That's it. Yeah,
for
that's definitely a big part of it. Well, I think like that's cool that you wrote that down because that one riff could turn into a whole song or
right.
even like, you know, multiple songs potentially. Like, you never know. I think it's cool to just kind of like have that in your back pocket.
Yeah,
Um,
that's exactly why I wrote it down. And
yeah, that'd
I
be
have
really cool to see an Aidan Redenius album, dude.
that would
Like,
be I'm thinking of titles
yeah.
like title for myself, a musician title. We'll see someday.
You
Someday,
ready to tell me that Aidan Redenius isn't good enough?
well, it is good enough. That's one of the titles I've considered.
Okay, okay, phew. Okay, cool. Okay, as long as it's being considered.
Of course.
um, cool. Well, I'm excited to see where your future music endeavors take you. You know,
Hopefully nowhere, as with most people who write music on their computers.
hey,
But
y- you know, it doesn't have to be like in like the mainstream. You know what I mean? Like that's not necessary. All right. As long
no,
as you're content with where you are in music, that's what matters the most. And I think where you are right now is I think it's pretty cool after hearing you kind of like talk about your experience and your just what you like about music and learning and playing it. I think I respect it more now that we've talked about it. I didn't respect it before. I actually hated it before, but now that we've talked about it, now I respect it.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I appreciate that.
yeah.
I really appreciate that. And
Yeah,
what
of
I
course.
would say is that writing an album, especially nowadays when like I'll hear a band that is so talented and so airtight in their production quality.
Right.
They're pulling like under 1,000 listeners a month on Spotify.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's just the sad reality of it nowadays. I think most of the time, if you're coming out and making good music, it's like starving. It's that starving artist thing, you know. Like artists aren't famous until after they're gone, generally. And so, if I were to write an album, it would be just pure passion, you know. Like I really want that medium to like pour my ideas and my thoughts and my aesthetics into, you know.
For sure. I feel like that can be very therapeutic, right?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and I don't feel like, I think you have a point. Like, I do feel like, a lot of artists probably, they don't get as much recognition as like they should. Should, right? Or like they could if more people knew about them. But I feel like, recognition is like, it's nice, but like, I feel like it doesn't justify how good you are. You know what I mean? Like, or
Right.
how, like, I think what matters most is that you're enjoying it, and like you're enjoying what you're making, you're enjoying what you're playing, and like like you said, it's just out of pure passion, right?
That's true.
I think that matters the most.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
So I
probably
hope
with it. You win.
what I win.
As long as you're having fun with it, you
Oh,
win.
I thought you said like I win. Like I was like, what do I win?
Yeah. As long as one person has fun playing music, Antonio Sakai wins.
Antonio Sakai wins. Yes, that's the moral. That's the moral of the story. I like it.
Me
Uh,
too.
cool. Well, on that note, I think we are going to conclude this episode of Chit Chats and this interview about music and everything. But thank you, Aiden, so much for sitting down and talking to me today. This was awesome.
Of course, yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
Did
I
you
hope
catch
to.
the that you made just a second ago?
What's up?
On that note,
That was intentional. That was definitely intentional. It's
yeah,
a
that's great.
it was a
Good.
pun. I've been waiting the past like half hour to say that because
Yeah.
I was like, this is gonna go hard. This joke.
It went heavy
It did.
when
Yeah.
you
Oh,
when you dropped it. You gave no there was no like sign that it was a pun at all.
yeah.
So
That's how good I am. That's
it
how
was
that's how good I've gotten in my comedic timing is I can just do it just with no attention drawn to it at all. Even though we're
very nice
drawing attention to it now, but it's fine. uh,
right there.
anyway, well, Aiden, I hope to see you on the show again. This has been fun. Um, and yeah, I keep on smacking my lips, which means it's time to end the show. So thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys in the next episode of Chit Chats. Peace. Rock on.
It's this one.
Oh, oops.
Put your hands
Fuck.
up.